Hello and welcome back to the game room. You know what I love? Video games. You know what I love? Talking about games. And it seems like a lot of people these days who cover games seem to hate them. Or at least the people who play them. Well, that's not me, and that's not the 3,636 of you beautiful people checking out this video here today. Well, I guess you guys don't like scary games because that video didn't do all that well. But today we got another list of some Xbox 360 bangers. A couple of which, once again, were donated to the channel. So we'll get to those. But we're just going to keep doing this until the rims run off. We just had a swap meet here at my local game store yesterday, where I did score on a lot of Xbox 360 gold. I am so glad the prices have fallen down. I saw multiple copies of Tornado Outbreak around $40. Yeah, I found things like some of the games we're even going to talk about now, ones I've already picked up, like Jericho, and just everything's coming down. So this is the time. People who bought up a lot of 360 are divesting of it, and so it's never been a better time to find some of these unique games if you like them, and I'm just very excited because once again, I don't care what the games are worth. I just like having them, and I am coming across more and more games lately that haven't been working. So, I mean, I guess there's that downside of the 362. I heard about it, never really experienced it now, but once you get up to around 300 games, I guess it's going to start running into it. But anyways, I'm rambling here. We got another 10 Xbox 360 games, so if that sounds interesting to you, let's check it out.
There's a lot of games out there, some of which you've never even heard of. That's where I come in. My name's Luke. I've been playing games since the age of 2, and I have no life.
This is my game room.
Alright, so the first game we're going to talk about this week is one that I actually played about a month ago. So I found out about this game through that same British YouTuber who told me about Falling Skies. And then he brought another game to my attention that I hadn't heard of, and just, inside baseball. The reason why I'm looking for these is I want to do a video about PAL releases, or at least releases that we didn't get in the West that are kind of PAL specific. Things like that one of the Outland collection that came with Beyond Good and Evil. So when I saw this game, I thought, oh, that looks like one that I've never heard of. Maybe it wasn't released. No, it was released, and no one really talks about it. It's a little bit of a horror game too, but kind of weakly. And the game is Shell Shocked 2: The Blood Trials. Now, by all means, I'm not saying this is a good game. It's not. But that's kind of where we're at with this, is I'm looking at how bad is it? And it's got a little vaguely supernatural feel. It seems like it's taking place in like a Vietnam or Cambodia type American incursion, where they are now coming across this otherworldly entity. You're playing the brother of a guy who seems to be infected with this, and then you start tripping out. Things catch on fire, goes nuts. It's funny. It seems like there's a little of that fear psychology in it. But instead of having it be a smooth, really well-defined experience, it's just clunky as all hell. The aiming down sights, the weapon takes up like 80% of your screen when you're trying to fire. But it's dumb fun, and I mean the game is going for around $20 now. This was one that I did see. So one of the guys I bought a lot of games off at the swap meet this weekend, he had probably 70 360 doubles, and this was one when I saw it, he's like, yeah, I don't know why that's a $20 game. And that's about what I got it for. But is it worth 20? Yeah, I'd say so. That's not a bad deal. I mean, it's about a 3 or 4 hour game, and it's one of those ones where you could beat it. And it's fun enough. It's got enough going for it. It's cheesy. It's not great though. Don't expect to be wowed. This is not a solid experience. But if you are interested in a lesser known 360 game, this is one to keep your eyes out on, because it is really hard to come by. And I've not seen anyone other than that one YouTuber talk about it. And even that video was just about games that are really hard to find at the United Kingdom's equivalent to GameStop. All right, so starting off with The first one of 3 here that Michael from Lake Oswego donated. So once again, thank you so much. You basically made half a video possible for me. Now this is one that I did run across at the Swap Meet too. So it's about a $15 to $20 game. It got up there. I saw it getting up around 40 or 60 very briefly. And I've seen a few people talk about it. And I did not know how awesome this game was until I started playing it. And as someone who's, like I said, I'm not a huge racing fan, but I love my car combat stuff like Twisted Metal and Burnout and Full Auto. Wow, it really hits that vein. So I played a game called Mayhem a few months ago. This feels like a predecessor to Mayhem. It's not as stylized, but in this game, you're controlling a car and you have real heavy machinery. So either a machine gun or a rocket launcher, the ability to drop bombs. And it's kind of, you get destruction points in addition to if you win the race. So you get points for destroy, and you can destroy the environment too. So you can fire your machine bullets into the buildings and they'll crumble down. It seems like there's different pathways through the levels. I couldn't quite figure out. I always seem to do the same pathway, but every once in a while one of the enemies would just get in front of me. And you can wreck the opponent's vehicles as well as your vehicle can be wrecked. And if your vehicle gets wrecked, you're out of the race. So that's something to bear in mind. It's heavily stage based, so I didn't come across like a Mario Party or Mario Kart style campaign where you have 4 races and then win a trophy. This one seems more in line with Burnout, more in line with Split Second. All these races blur where you'll have a match. And then that's it. And then you'll get a medal on it. So this one you get a gold, silver, or bronze medal, depending on how much damage you did. And then if you won the race or not. It gives you the selection of a few different vehicles at the beginning. You can change the paint color. But there's a lot of unlocks you can get as you play. And as this is I think it's a 2006 release, so it's a fairly early release. I don't know if this is on anything else. This might, it doesn't have the Xbox 360 exclusive, but I can't tell you if I've ever seen it on the PS3. But I gotta say, as a game that I really did not have that much interest in based on when I saw it covered by other people during the huge FOMO craze, let me tell you, this is one that's well worth picking up. So I really enjoyed it. It's not your it's very arcadey racing, but with a little bit more, a little bit, I don't know. It's really ridiculous. I like the hell out of it. Although the first race where they have you using the rocket launcher is very difficult to control because it's free aiming, unlike the machine gun where it just fires where you're going. With the rocket launcher, you can actually aim it with the right stick, but while you're driving, I don't know, maybe I just don't have this kind of mind calculus. It's really hard to be aiming and firing and then driving and doing all this at the same time, especially while holding down the accelerator. But it controls nice. It's not a great game by any means, but a fun one, and especially it's got the ability to play with friends, so that'd be a really fun, stupid weekend game to play with your buddies. So really thank you again, Michael, for that one. That was one that was not on my radar, and thank you so much for putting it on my radar, because I will now tell everyone, as someone who's not a huge racing fan, that's probably one of the better racing games I've played on the 360 outside of, say, Blur. Very, very cool. Alright, now one that I decided to give another look to, because like I said before, I was kind of just glossing over some of these ones, and this is a game that universally is hated. I just assumed it was bad, so this time I decided to pop it in, and that is Bomberman Zero. I gotta tell you guys, as bad as you've heard this game is, I actually kind of enjoyed it. There's 2 different modes to it. So at the beginning of the game, you build your characters. So you're either a male or a female. So you know it's an old game because it allows you to select those. And then it gives you the ability to change your color. So you're like this big robot guy. And then you get dropped in. And each scenario is essentially the same as far as the single player mode goes. So you're either playing single player in a... almost like an isometric or just floating 3D view of the surroundings, but it's Bomberman. It's basic Bomberman. So you're dropped in to a square or a rectangle. You have blocks that block it. You get power-ups as you go through. But you have a life bar, so you can take, at least on the first version, the one that has the dynamic camera angles, you can take some damage. And as you take some damage, you will lose some of your power-ups. And it's just one life. How far can you get? And some of them, you'll start off, you have one opponent, and then they'll stop dropping in 2 opponents. And I think it gets up to a total of 8 people on the playing field. It just transports you to the next stage. And I think there's 50 stages according to the back of the case. And that's really it for the campaign. The other campaign is the exact same campaign, except it does not have dynamic camera angles. Instead, you just have the classic top-down Bomberman view. So as longtime fans of Bomberman, I can understand why this rubbed people the wrong way. It's very punishing with the campaign because it's literally one life and you're dead and then you go back to the beginning. But as someone who picked this game up when it was like $5, I strangely really enjoyed it. The graphics were cool enough. It was a neat setting. It had the Bomberman style. I enjoyed it. I was really surprised at how much fun I actually had playing this, especially because I think it has up to 8 players simultaneous co-op. I doubt that can't be on the same system. You'd probably have to do a system link, but you probably could have 4 people on the same one. And once again, I could see it be a dumb, fun party game. And it's interesting. It's interesting going back and playing these games because I was aware of when these came out and I knew the review scores. And then you are around long enough to see kind of the zeitgeist about what these games are like, but you never try it. So that's why it's always important to try things for yourself because you never know. You might be that random person that thinks Bomberman Act Zero is decent. Because I think it's okay. It's definitely not the worst game ever made like people claim it is. But hey, people said that about the Shadow Run on the 362, and I thought the nomenclature around that game was terrible. And then when I released the video talking about that one, I found a lot of people in the comments saying how much fun it was. So it is interesting how that can kind of happen, even to this day. You know, for years now, I've talked about the Zelda 2 controversy, where when Zelda 2 was out, no one thought it was the black sheep. No one thought anything different of it at all. Everyone just thought, wow, Zelda 2 is freaking amazing. And it really didn't start getting that way until maybe post Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and then you start hearing people say like, oh yeah, Zelda 2's hard, it's awful, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but yeah, Bomberman Act Zero, it's strangely fun, and I know that one's starting to go up like around $20, but with the FOMO wearing off, pick it up if you find it and see if you enjoy it too, because it's Bomberman. It's a Bomberman game, just with a really, really strange art style, but still decent enough. Alright, here's a game that I've really wanted to pick up. I've just never come across it at any of the swap meets. I've never come across it at any of the, I haven't really found it in any lots on eBay. It's not a super expensive game, and it's based on a movie, which now, once getting the game, I found out that movie was based on a comic book. Shows you how much I know about this stuff, but that's kind of what happened. And it's like Blade. I had no idea Blade was a Marvel character back in the 90s. I just thought it was Wesley Snipes' newest action vehicle. Like, it made perfect sense. Like, oh yeah, he's a badass vampire killer. Then you find out years later, oh yeah, that's a Marvel property. Well, that's kind of what happened with this. It's Wanted Weapons of Fate. So this was a movie that starred a very, very young, whatever that guy's name is, I can't remember his name, but the main character in it was like one of his first movies, and then it had Angelina Jolie in it, who was super hot at the time, and the big gimmick of the movie was that you could curve the bullets, so you fire, and then if you have this lineage of assassins in your bloodline, when you fire the bullet, it kind of curves around it, and I want to say it came out around 2008, 2009, so it also sort of seemed to be following the same hype train of Assassin's Creed. So finding out it was based on a comic book, because Assassin's Creed had the whole Templar order with the assassins, and then Wanted seemed to have this whole thing where they would have this order of assassins and then this order of the immortal and all this other lore and everything behind it. Just didn't really make sense. But the movie was fun enough, and I found out there was a game related to it years later, and I just thought, oh, that looks decent enough. I don't know, I'm not interested. And what a mistake. The game is so much fun, and I finally came across it at that swap meet this weekend. So this was from that guy who had all the duplicates. I picked it up for a great deal. It's still about a $15-$20 game, I think, though I've seen it go up higher than that. But it's really, really fun. James McAvoy, I think that's the guy's name, yeah. So you play as a guy who looks like him, but the voice actor playing him is not him. Or James McElroy, I don't know. It's a different voice actor. Same thing, they have an Angelina Jolie character in it, which I guess was a created character. She's not from the comics, it was made for the movie. So she's in it, but it's a different look. It doesn't look like Angelina Jolie. But it's really fun gameplay. They have the ability for you to almost stick to cover. So it kind of reminds me of Stranglehold a little bit with the way you go in and out of cover, but it's very ingenious that you can go from cover to cover, kind of like in Gears of War, how you can switch from cover to cover. But it's built into the system, and while you're transitioning from one cover to the next, you seem to be invulnerable, and it works going side to side, it works going forward, you can move around, you can fire blindly, and you have the chance to stun the enemy while you do that, and then it allows you to get around and then fire from behind. So this works well when enemies have shields, as well as there's an instant melee kill option if you get up close to them. There are sequences that happen where it slows down time and you have a timer to take the shot. And then the main thing I was wondering is, how are they going to implement the curved bullet system? They actually had a very interesting way of doing it, where while you're aiming, you can hold the right bumper that then gives you a trajectory shot. And if it's red, the shot's not going to take. If it's white, the shot's going to take. You release the bumper, it fires the bullet, kills the enemy, sometimes even goes to a cool follow the bullet time, you know, like Stranglehold, Max Payne, that kind of thing, till it kills the enemy. As well as you have a meter, so you can't just unlimited do these shots. So every time you kill an enemy out in the open, it builds up that meter, and then you can do it, you know, 3 or 4 times after that. So all in all, I'm surprised this game got such poor reviews. I think it's because it was based on the movie. And with these mechanics, these are really revolutionary mechanics, the way that they have it. And I can't tell you I've played anything else this era that feels this polished. Like, it really does feel like, you know, a lot of these things I've played coalesce together into a really tight package. But then you're playing in a movie universe that, and if you're not aware of the comics, it's just really, like, the movie's all over the place. Like, it's hard to jump into it. But if I'm just talking about the game, really enjoyed it. Really, really enjoyed it. And this one is another one that, if you come across it, pick it up, because you will not regret it, especially if you like third-person shooters. It is a fun game, and that bullet curve mechanic is so cool. Like, they did such a good job. I would love to see another series steal it, because it was very, very unique and something I really enjoyed. Speaking of a series that steals from multiple different series, I really wanted to play the other Call of Duties I never played on the 360 era, because to give you my background, I started with Modern Warfare 4, I went to World at War, I did Black Ops, and then I don't know how I jumped straight to Modern Warfare 3. I know I missed Modern Warfare 2, but I'm pretty sure there was either Black Ops 2 between that, or I don't know. But one of the games when it was coming out that just looked like, okay, now Call of Duty is just ripping off Titanfall, was Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, funnily enough, this is the game where F's in the chat came from, so I was not abreast of that until it just became a thing where people started putting F's, but I quickly learned it was a thing about giving respect, and then I saw the picture of the guy's hand on the casket. But I didn't know it was from this one. I thought it was from Ghosts or one of their Black Ops or something. But no, that's from this game. Although it's X to doubt, so F's is for the PC version, but what are you going to do? And this is also the version that had Kevin Spacey in it, which was the first time I can remember where they had a big-time actor in the campaign. And to give a little context, at this time, House of Cards was one of the biggest shows. I want to say this came out, Advanced Warfare probably came out somewhere between seasons 3 and 4 of House of Cards, or maybe right after season 4 of House of Cards. So this was before Kevin Spacey became persona non grata. Like, we still liked him at this time. And it's funny seeing it now and playing it now. Because at the time, the whole reason why I didn't want to play any of these is it seemed I've done it over and over. It's done. I don't need to see it again. But coming back to it now, it actually felt like kind of like a warm blanket. It was like, oh yeah, I know this place. I know what this is. And it really is Call of Duty with a lot of interesting future mechanics put into it. The threat grenade is super cool. You'll throw a grenade and it turns the whole screen red, and then it will highlight the enemies. You have the ability then to shoot them through walls even. You can toggle what the grenade does, so you don't have to have 6 grenades on you. You can toggle your tactical grenade, and then your frag grenade, and a smart grenade will just throw up and heat seek into somebody. You have the ability to use a slight boost, and it takes place in 2054, which I guess when a game came out in 2013, 14. That seemed far enough in the future for these things to seem reasonable, which maybe they still are, but here we are in 2024, and it's just hard to think, wow, in 30 years we're going to have this. Maybe. I mean, maybe. Technology does move fast when it does. But I feel like it suffered from trying to be a Titanfall. Like, Titanfall came out and had all these cool things and abilities, and playing them now, it definitely is not nearly as agile as Titanfall, or especially Titanfall 2. But I did enjoy it. And I got it for $2. So I got this at the swap meet too. The guy had for $5, and I'm like, I'll give you $2 because, like I said, and he was like, please take it. I probably could have got it for $1. Like, he was just happy to get anything for it because ain't no one buying these old Call of Duty games. But they do have really solid campaigns, especially back at this era before they really just started focusing everything on the multiplayer. So that's one that I definitely think is worth a couple of bucks, and I would recommend it. It doesn't, like, the gunplay, it reminds me of why I fell out of love with Call of Duty. It just feels a little stiff sometimes. It doesn't have, like, going and remembering the agility of something like Titanfall 2, or just the way Bungie is so good with something like, say, Destiny or Halo. I'm definitely more in that camp. Call of Duty really leans more into the tacticalness of it, but it was fun to go back. It was fun to go back now, and I'm definitely going to try and get the rest of these. In fact, I picked up Call of Duty Ghosts from the same guy, but the damn disc doesn't work. And once again, as this is towards the end of the generation, you have to do an install on the hard drive to even make the games run. So probably better on the Xbox One, PS4 era, but hey, just wanted to try it because they look good. It's funny how good these games still look on the 360, at least to my bad eyes. But hey, what are we going to do? All right. A game that, since I'm just running through the rest of the series on this series, and this probably is the low point in my opinion, at least on the 360, and that would be Assassin's Creed Revelations. So this was the final game in the Ezio trilogy. So you had Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and then Revelations. And Revelations, I can't remember what city. Was this Florence that this took place in? I remember the city was kind of ho-hum. Ezio now was like a grandfather, very gray. Like, it was cool. I think it's still to this day the oldest assassin you've played as the main character. But it was wearing thin. Like, they needed to put Ezio out to pasture. It's also the culmination of the first 4 games' real main antagonist, or main character, which was Desmond. So you finally find out Desmond's kind of what his story wraps up to be, and it's very unsatisfying. And maybe if the ending of this game had been better, I would have better thoughts on this game, but you know, it implements everything that Brotherhood had on it as far as having your kind of stable of assassins, but it didn't really introduce any new mechanics. By this time, they started focusing more on the combat side of Assassin's Creed and less on the stealth. So you'll notice that you can do chain kills and start assassinating people in mid-fight, which I think they did a much better job with going full force into with Assassin's Creed 3 and 4. This is kind of the beginnings of that, where they start really allowing you to take on like 9 enemies at once and have it just be a complete joke. But still, one you gotta have. It's, play it yourself, make up your own mind. But the whole Desmond thing with the Animus and this and that, like, I don't know what they've done past Assassin's Creed 4, because I haven't played any of the other ones, even though I have all of them except for Mirage, and I most likely am not getting Shadows, but who knows, once it's $10, I'll probably pick it up. But yeah, that's another one, just to let you know, definitely of all 7 Assassin's Creeds on the 360, and then 8 if you count the DLC one that you can't get anymore. This one is my least favorite, but hey, you might like it. Alright, and then getting to some of the big boys. So, this is the one. This is the one that, this randomly, Michael was like, hey, do you need this one too? And I'm like, are you sure? That game's really, really expensive. He's like, nah, man, I got you. And he sent me a copy of Fatal Inertia. I did not think I would get this game. I really did not, especially not for a donation. So, holy cow. And putting it in, playing it, people have said it's like an F-Zero, it's like a Hydra Thunder. I'd say it's definitely it's more like a F-Zero Mario Kart hybrid. So you are in these futuristic races. You have 3 different types of racers that I found, like kind of like a spaceship, the one that's on the cover, and then a third one. They all handle differently. There's probably more too, but that's how many I unlocked. The tournaments are very long. There's a lot of content in this game, which is really surprising. And it's coming down in price. So this one got up around $150, $200, dropped down to $100, and now I'm seeing it around $60 or $70, which before the FOMO, this was like a $5, $15 game. No one cared about this game. So this is, along with Eternal Hell's Vengeance, those ones just exploded out of nowhere. Luckily, they're coming down to earth. But this is a very fun game, and it has unique concepts where you'll run a race through the same stage, but it'll give you a curve. But in most racing games, you'll see a curve. If you miss the curve or you hit it too hard, you'll just hit a wall. In this one, you'll just continue on into the ether. So it's easy to lose yourself on the actual course itself. The power-ups you get are pretty cool. Not as cool as something like Blur or Mario Kart, but very unique. One of which was a tether, where you can shoot a tether at another racer and then tether them to the ground and completely wreck them. And it was just a fun game. I really enjoyed it. The racing does not have the rubber banding, but you can really catch up. And all in all, phenomenal game. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this. I wish I had played this before the store shut down, because I think you could have downloaded the game itself for $5 for a while. And man, it is a shame that it's so expensive, because I really enjoyed it. The vibe is cool. The music's decent enough. It's one of those fun little hidden games no one knows about, and I can see why it skyrocketed so fast, because it does hit that mark. It really hits that mark of a game that is like a hidden gem that no one talked about, and then it kind of just falls by the wayside. Something like I'm trying to think of an analogy of something like not Demon's Crest. Demon's Crest is too popular. More like the game that Retrobit just released, like King of Demons. King of Demons is a really fun game on the SNES. If you guys have no idea what that is, I've done a video on it back in like 2016. It's more or less a side-scrolling, almost Castlevania-like, Resident Evil-like, inspired visually and story-wise, but side-scrolling action game. It's really cool. Highly recommend picking that up. But Fatal Inertia, wow. Michael, thank you again, man. I really enjoyed this one, and it's probably one of my favorite racers on the system now. And then the other game that he sent me, I had told how I had a sealed copy of this game that I got at the swap meet 3 months ago, and he's like, bro, I got you. I'll just send you one. It's got the slip cover and everything. It's probably in better shape than the damn sealed one, because my man took good care of his games. So, wow, I need to learn from you. In fact, after this, I started buying some of these slip cases for my games too, because I probably should, and it makes things look better. But he sent me a copy of Transformers Fall of Cybertron. And damn, as someone who's not a huge Transformers fan, I did not know how much I needed to play this game, but man, did I have a great time. So it's kind of reminiscent to Spider-Man, the way it's level based, but on this one, the levels determine the Autobot you play as. Even later in the game, it looks like you play as some of the Decepticons. Like I can see you're playing as Starscream, and you have, I think, Megatron at some point. But start the game as Bumblebee, and you can fire, you can change the direction of the shoulder, and you have the ability to transform into your vehicle. The next stage you're playing as Optimus Prime, and it's very tight, it's very polished, feels really, really nice. Another one that I can see why this game has gone up. So I believe it's like around $60, something like that. And then it's sequel War for Cybertron, which I actually picked up War for Cybertron at the swap meet. That's another one I got. So like I said, we got some more good games to talk about in the coming weeks because of that swap meet. That really helped out the channel. But Fall of Cybertron, I really liked it. I really enjoyed the game. It plays very well. It's very slick. You know, it's hard to play so many third-person shooters and feel like you've done something truly unique. But this really, especially for Transformer fans, I feel the love for the series coming through. And it has the voice actors. It has the voice actors everyone knows and loves. Optimus Prime sounds like Optimus Prime. And it just is really a nice package and digestible too. So I think it's 10 stages, 12 stages, something to that nature. I don't understand anything that's going on because, once again, I don't know the series. I'm not sure, like, Cybertron is falling. Is this before they go to the Earth, or who knows? But it seems like they do a little bit of non-linear storytelling because you're starting off as Bumblebee, but then I think they send you back to the next stage as Optimus. So I'm not quite sure how it all ties in. I don't really care. I just know that the game plays really well. It's fun to do. The melee combat's enjoyable enough too, and just everything about it seems pretty solid. So another really fun one that I would say is worth the price. Definitely get it now too, because you can find it for a deal. You probably can get that around $40-50. And even, you know, especially if it's not with the slipcase and everything else. So I would jump on that one, because that one is, in my opinion, I had more fun with this game than I had with the Spider-Man game. So that was something I didn't expect, but it really felt better. You know, the controls just felt better. All right, last couple here. So once again, just to cover some of the basic ones, this is one that everyone needs in their collection, and this is kind of peak Xbox 360 in my opinion as far as how these games played. Even though I preferred the original, you gotta give the respect to the second game, as it kind of took the concept of the original and put it in a sandbox, and that is Batman Arkham City. And this is a very phenomenal game. Came out right around the peak of the Dark Knight trilogy. So I want to say this came out between the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises. So before Bane came out and had his roar and burn. And one of the things Arkham City is known for is it's got some of the most unique boss fights, and probably the best iteration of a boss fight in any of the Arkham games, which would be, in my opinion, the Mr. Freeze fight. It was a very, very cool fight, and the thing that made it so interesting is that Mr. Freeze has vulnerabilities, but as Mr. Freeze is a smart guy, you can only attack him through that vulnerability once. So if you go through a grate and hit him from behind, he'll now be able to stop you if you try to do that again. And that's how the whole fight plays out. So you'll have to find like 8 different ways of damaging him in order to win the fight. And even then, it's like Mr. Freeze is my personal favorite Batman villain, who I feel always gets the short end of the staff, especially what they've done to him recently. But, I mean, I enjoy the damn Batman and Robin movie because I was a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, a huge Mr. Freeze fan. So I'm sorry. I know people hate that movie, but it's still a amazing 10 out of 10 for me, because every time I see Mr. Arnold say, like, it's gold coming on, time to chill, like, oh, that just appeals to my sensibilities on a level that I can't even explain. But yeah, Arkham City, really cool because you have just an open cityscape. Everything, like, this was before this became the norm, so it felt like kind of like the Infamous or that kind of like a GTA area, but now you're playing as Batman. You have incredible maneuverability. I've never really enjoyed, even with the newer Spider-Man games, swinging through the city as Spider-Man is cool and all, but it never had the same enjoyment as gliding through the city as Batman. And I like Spider-Man more than Batman, so what are you going to do? But as far as my superheroes go, those are probably my top two, and largely because those are my top two stable of rogues villains. But yeah, just everything about Arkham City was really cool. It brought all the cool villains in it. Poison Ivy's in it, Bane's in it, Mr. Freeze, Joker's still in it from the first one. Just a 10 out of 10 game. I really enjoyed Arkham City. Unfortunately, I did not so much enjoy the ones after it, though I need to give Origins a better shot, because I talked about that before, but I haven't actually gone back and played Origins. But yeah, Arkham City, one you need. And there's like a Game of the Year edition. There's like one that's like close up on his face with red on it, as well as there's the Armored edition on the Wii U. So I don't know if those ones are more collectible or why they would be. But just the straight vanilla version of the game, well worth having, and a really good one. All right, then the last game we're going to talk about this week is one that I briefly mentioned before, but it's still one that no one really talks about. It is the fourth game in this series that I only knew had one game come out for it back in the day, and that is Destroy All Humans: Path of the Furon. And I don't know if this happened to you guys, but if I did see this game back in the day, I think I may have assumed it was just a remake of the first one. But no, this is a fourth game. It takes place after the third game, Willy's Revenge, which came out on the Wii that I didn't know about either. Now, one thing that's not going for it is I don't usually talk about graphics. I don't talk about games looking ugly, but man, this game looks like a PS2 game. It has that open world environment that you can run around in circa like the way the Simpsons game was, where you go to different missions. But man, comparing Destroy All Humans: Path of the Furon to Arkham City, looks like one definitely had a lot more TLC put into it. As far as games go, though, you still play as Crypto, which at the time I didn't know Crypto was a funny joke on cryptozoology or just all that. And even now with crypto coins and all that. But yeah, Crypto is the main character, who's a little alien dude who sounds like Jack Nicholson. And you're just going through, and your abilities now are a little different. So you have your ray that will turn people into brains. You eat the brains. You can now make them disco dance. You can read their minds. You can abduct them and then become them. It doesn't have the same level of zaniness or the same immediate enjoyment. I really enjoyed the first Destroy All Humans because it was really level based, if I recall, where almost like a Mario 64, where you would have the fair setting, and then you have a directive to do in that fair setting. You accomplish it, and then you get out. And then you go to the next level, and then you get out. This one, you're in Vegas of all places, and you're trying to get money, and there's weapons you get as you go through, and you have your saucer very early on, and then you can basically get heat on you, just like in GTA, and then have to fight off cops and all that. But all in all, for a $20 game, and one that still no one talks about, I enjoyed it. It's definitely a little rough around the edges, and as someone who does not typically comment on graphics, yeah, the graphics are pretty subpar for a 360 game. But other than that, it's still got the humor the series is known for, and it's fun playing as that little alien dude. So one that I would still recommend picking up. All right, and there you have it. Another 10 games to go and immediately get on your 360 before this bottom decides to start spiking up. Thank you guys again for another great week. I know it's funny, the Halloween video didn't do very well last year either, so maybe I shouldn't be labeling it that way, but I just enjoy talking about those, and also we had some good ones like Silent Hill Downpour, etc. But let me know, are there any other games I should be looking at? Because after thinking that I was running out of games, I probably have another 30 or 40, including ones that were already in my collection, ones I've recently picked up, and then ones that I've talked about but I actually need to play. So we got a few more videos coming, as I keep saying. I feel like I've been saying that for 10 weeks. Here we are in like video 26. We'll see. I'm trying to get to 30. We're trying to get to 30, or at least close out this year, see where we can get. But hey, as always, thank you guys so much. It really, this channel would not be anywhere without your support, your comments, your likes. I read every single one of them. Sorry, I can't respond to them because YouTube doesn't seem to like that. But I try to respond to them when I can, or answer them here on the video when I can remember it, when I'm not, exhausted from talking for 30 minutes straight. But anyways, release a new video every Tuesday. It's been so nice getting a hold of you. Take care.